All right, so we back. Um, I know I've been gone for a while. Been a lot going on, but I'm back here to talk about some issues. I'm gonna be doing these on a little more consistent basis. Hopefully, dropping some knowledge, getting some feedback, building with people, so on and so forth. Um, I wanted to start off with a recap of the economic video, the community economics video. I wanted to get I looked over the video again, and it's like 5 or 6 parts. But some very important concepts I don't get to until part like 6 or 5 or 6 or whatever. But basically, I wanted to give like an intro, which is a condensed version of everything in all 6 videos, just in case you can't make it through all the videos. You can get kind of everything in one. Um, and I got a lot to go through. I got my notes right here. I got a lot to go through, so I'm gonna get started. Just get it started. So community economics. To sum up all the videos and to make this as applicable as possible, community economics. Um, the first thing that needs to be known is that all community economics, in order to pull it off, all it takes is cooperation amongst individuals and cooperation amongst organizations, business or otherwise. There needs to be no government intervention. There needs to be no state and local intervention. It is strictly an individual thing based on individual interaction and organizational interaction. And also, it is the solution to many of the problems that we're facing out here. The economy's bad. People can't find jobs. Poverty's all-time high. Unemployment's all-time high. The dollar's at an all-time low. All these things are happening right now. The solution to these economic issues is community economics. It is people starting their own businesses. It is people taking back the mechanisms of economic empowerment and making it work for them. And so that's what this is about. And the main core concept of community economics is what's good for the individual is also good for the community in an economic sense, and what is good for the community in an economic sense is also good for the individual. And that's a very important key to remember, so that as human beings, so often we are beings of self-interest, self-motivation, selfishness through the ego, and not as long as it stays in balance, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. When it gets out of balance, that's when things become wrong with that. But in this paradigm, it's important to remember that what's best for you as an individual becomes what's best for the community, and what's best for the community becomes what's best for you as an individual. So it is a reciprocal process of give and take between the community and the individual, and both prosper when one prospers, which makes this idea of community economics so viable and so powerful and so pertinent to our current situation. So what does it take to make this happen? Okay, so what you need in order to make this happen, again, I'm just gonna fly through this stuff. If there's more, I go to it into more detail in the actual community economics videos, but this is just gonna be a overview. So I'm just gonna fly through this stuff. But what does it take to make this happen? It takes a network of businesses and individuals who support each other's endeavors, who support each other's businesses, right? Who operate with a high level of integrity, meaning I can trust you, I can trust your word, you can trust my word. I'm gonna do what I say I'm gonna do. You're gonna do what you say you're gonna do. That's high integrity. Highly organized, so that we're efficient with the delivering of goods and services. And then who will also supply quality goods and services to the community. Now, that last point, all of those points are important, but that last point really can't be emphasized enough. Quality goods and services. So it's important to get these businesses up and going in our community. It's important that people from the community are leading these businesses and promoting these businesses and receiving profit off these businesses. But even more important than that is that the quality of the products has to be what we're used to. You're not gonna buy furniture that falls apart after 2 months. You're not gonna buy food that doesn't taste good. You're not gonna buy water that's dirty. You're not gonna buy clothes that isn't sewn together properly. You're not gonna buy shoes that fall apart after a couple games of basketball. You're not gonna do that. So therefore, your endeavor will not be successful and it just brings a lot of complications. So long story short, it takes a network of individuals and businesses linked together, supporting each other, but we must be supporting each other with quality products and services. Um, no other way to put that. All right, so what are we talking about? We're talking about the buy-sell trade of quality goods and services. Um, right now, as a community, as a human race, as an American people, whatever you want to call us, we're consumed with buying. We're consumed with buying. We're consumed with consumerism, and that's really the weakest part of the buy-sell trade equation. What you really want to be doing is selling, because the money is made from selling. And then if you can't necessarily if you don't have an exchange for something monetarily, you trade. If I have, uh, if I have a hammer and you need a hammer and you have a saw, let's trade that. Barter, old school barter. Don't underestimate barter. Bartering is still a very viable source of economic power. But basically, what we're talking about is the buy-sell trade of quality goods and services. We got the buying part mastered. We're just buying the wrong stuff. But we know how to buy. But we need to get back into the selling, back into the trading. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So what is so before I get into current situations and current paradigms, I'm going to set a historical precedent for the advantage of manufacturing and the current significance of manufacturing, just so y'all don't think I'm talking out my ass or whatever. So basically, long story short, all the money that is made in the economy, not all of it, but the majority of money that's made in the economy is made through selling, producing, manufacturing. Manufacturing products is really where it's at as an individual, as a business, as a country. No matter what level it is, no matter what degree it is, you want to be making stuff. You want to be manufacturing things. And we've gotten away from that as a country, which is why our economy is in the toilet. We outsource all of our manufacturing jobs to other countries where corporations can use the labor there to produce their products at a much lower rate than they would have to pay like a unionized or a more organized, Americanized work labor force. And so a corporation is only thinking about profit. So if they can pay a factory in Thailand 39 cents per item, and they have to pay a factory in America $10.39 per item. For a corporation, that's a no-brainer. They're not thinking about what's best for the earth. They're not thinking about what's best for America. They're not thinking about what's best for the domestic economy. They're thinking about what's best for such and such Inc. or whoever they work for. So it's all about manufacturing, and we've gotten away from manufacturing. Like 20, 30 years ago, you flip over half the stuff in your house, it may say made in the USA. You flip over almost all the stuff in your house today, it'll say made in Taiwan, made in China, so on and so forth. We're not making stuff like we used to. We got to get back into that. Why is manufacturing so critical? It's a basic process. It's a basic process. So it's really I think it's called the multiplier effect or whatever the case may be. But basically, say you have a raw material, right? So say you have a block of wood, and then you take the wood and you work on it and you turn it into a chair, right? The process of it going from a raw material, the piece of wood, you working on it and making it into a chair, there's a multiplier effect in there that makes the worth of that go up. So say you may have paid $10 for this block of wood, right? But once you work on it, put your labor into it, then you make it into an object that's going to be used for a long time, a chair. You can sell a nice wooden chair for, who knows how much, $50, $60, $70, $80, depending on, the quality of the chair and the person that's buying it. But you see the multiplier effect. You paid 10 for it, you sold it for 80. That's the thing. So that's why manufacturing is important, and that formula works across all areas. So if you're taking a raw piece of copper, you're taking some plastic, some raw plastic, you're taking some basic metals or whatever, those things in their raw material that may cost you, under $50. But say you take enough of it, put it to manufacture in such a way, maybe you build a computer, maybe you build a microchip, maybe you build a radio, then you just took that $50 investment in those raw materials and you flip that into 500, 600, 700, 1,000, whatever the case may be. But I'm just trying to paint the picture that across the board, taking a raw material, turning it into an object to sell, is what makes the money, is what makes things worth things, is where the profit comes from. So that's one aspect to think about it. And I can go into a whole in the video. I do actually do that, and I go into the history of it. It's how England built up their economy. It's how France built up their economy. Spain built all the countries in Western Europe. That's how they built up their economies. It's how the United States built up their economy 250 years ago. It's how everybody does it: manufacturing, making things. And the reason it's not pumped like it used to be. Um, that's a little bit more complicated, but the fact of the matter is, um, economic progress comes with manufacturing. Point blank, period. Another thing I wanted to say is that before we get into some practical applications, another thing I wanted to say is that you can see the benefits of community economics in almost any major city. I live in New York, right? So I can go down to Chinatown. I can go down to where the Jewish people live, and what you will see is those people have a monopoly over the people. Those are the people that are running the businesses in the community. You won't see black people running businesses in a Jewish community. You won't see Middle Eastern people running businesses in Chinatown. You won't see, or whatever the case may be. These people are controlling their community economics, and that's all I'm saying that everybody has to do. Black people, white people, Latinos. Everybody should be looking out for their community. And I'm not saying community is necessarily based on race or religious preference. What I'm talking about is the people who you're building with on the community should be people who are invested in the community. That may be a black person, it may be a white person, it may be whoever. Whoever is interested in seeing the community thrive, that's who you're dealing with. Because they look like you doesn't mean they think like you, and doesn't mean they're going to be a good business partner. And just because they don't look like you doesn't mean they won't be a good business partner. If y'all see what I'm saying. So basically, I'm saying it's not about what group we may belong to. It's about the individual's thought process and their motivate and their intention. Are they trying to make the community a better place? Are they trying to make themselves better? Are they trying to make the community better? Are they trying to invest in the community? Are they trying to support the community? Does the community support them? Those are the questions you should be asking. Not, is this person Muslim? Is this person Jewish? Is this person Latino? Is this person black? Is this person whatever? So it's about character, not color or religion when it comes to these business practices. Very key point. Very key point. So again, let's just keep going. Practical applications and solutions. So what you really want to do is customize this to your situation, whatever situation you may be in. You want to have some guidelines as far as you want to, if you're running a business or you're opening a small business or you're thinking about selling something small on the side. It doesn't have to be something big like Walmart. You don't necessarily even have to have a storefront, especially with the emergence of e-commerce. You can do a lot of stuff online. You may be able to do some stuff as far as like street festivals, vendors, small scale stuff. You don't have to open a storefront and start paying an extra $1,500 in rent every month just to own and run a small business and profit from a small business. A small business can be just that. It can be small, but it can also be profitable. What you want to do is you want to pursue it in a way that makes sense for you, right? So how I open a small business and the things that I pursue are not going to be the same thing that you pursue, not going to be the same thing that they pursue, that he or she pursues, because we all have different talents, we all have different interests, and we're all in different situations, right? So I guess what I'm saying is what you want to do is, ideally you want it to be something that you're interested in, so that way it doesn't feel like a lot of work. So that's one key important aspect of it. Also, I have down here a logical opportunity. So even if I'm not interested in it, if it's a logical opportunity to make some business, I'm going to do it. For example, if I have a friend who, if I have a friend who has an inside track on how to assemble computers, and he has a really tight, efficient system for putting together, small, basic home computers, and he needs help with it, right? Assembling computers is not something I'm necessarily interested in, but if it's something that's logical, reasonable, and it's easy for me to do, as in I could do it in my spare time while I'm, doing, watching TV or whatever I want to do, then that's something I should look into. Just because little output for me, but a lot of input. Meaning, I don't know if I said that. I might have said that backwards. But the point I'm trying to get is I don't have to put a lot of effort in, and I get a lot of return back. That's like a logical opportunity. Somewhere you just have an advantage and you take advantage of it. That's it. And then something else would be, a business of convenience. So say my cousin knows how to get has a hookup on bar soap, like regular bar soap, right? Say he can get like tons of bar soap, high quality bar soap for like a low price, right? Then even though I'm not interested in bar soap, I have no interest in whatever the case may be. But as in a money mind state, I gotta think to myself, oh well, if I got the connect for it, even though I'm not really into selling bar soap, I got the connect for it. So I might as well buy 100 bars a month. Matter of fact, I'll buy 100 bars a month, and then I'm not even gonna sell them. I'm gonna pay somebody to sell them. So that takes a little bit out of my overhead, but who cares? You know what I'm saying? Because it's no sweat to me. I'm literally buying from him, giving to him to sell. I'm taking some of the profit. He's taking some of the profit. I'm making passive income without even lifting a finger or without even doing much. So these are kind of situations you want to put into. But again, ideally, you want to line it up with something that you're interested in, so that you can be passionate about what you're doing. And then let's dig a little bit deeper onto some of the other things, because I feel like in the videos I didn't customize it enough and I didn't give enough practical applications. So what you really want to do is when these people that you're networking with in these businesses, ideally you want to provide the same goods and services that people are used to buying in their normal everyday life. So people buy food, so within the network you need somebody that sells food. Quality food, high quality food, a diverse variety of food. In your normal everyday life, you get water. You want somebody that does water. In your normal everyday life, you do shelter. You do normal household items. You do hardware. You do house supplies. You do clothes. These are all things that you need people in your network to sell, because these are all things that you're going to buy on a consistent basis. If you can get them from people within your network that are selling high quality products of this sort, then you want to get that from them. But again, you want to focus on the things that people buy on a daily basis. And then when you get into some people that have a little bit more skill and a little bit more knowledge and know-how, you can get into buying and selling electronics, basic electronics, which can be also very beneficial. The kind of people that you need to be kind of trying to network with, as far as the people that you want to be like a part of your economic community. Carpentry, for obvious reasons, being able to build shelter or repair shelters is just key. You got to protect yourself. I'm thinking on a very basic level here. You got to be able to protect yourself from the elements and house yourself and your family. Electrician, again, is a little bit more advanced, but if you want some lights on, if you want to run a couple of electrical devices, if you have some, and again, I want to put this in a context when I'm talking about this stuff, is that I'm talking self-sustainment, right? So the reason I'm talking about a carpenter is so you don't have to go out and pay somebody however X much amount of money to build you a house, or to have a house, or to pay rent. You're paying $5, $6, $7, $8, $900 for rent right now. But imagine if you could build your own house and live there rent free, or live on someone's land, but have a much more modest living situation. So these are the kind of things I'm talking about. Is not being dependent on the social order for the things that you need, which is very critical. Which also ties into the economic development, because as we develop these businesses and develop these networks, also we become less dependent on the system, which is systemically bound for failure. This economic system is going to collapse. The social system is going to collapse along with it. People will not be eating. The dollar, the inflation will go up. People will go crazy. La 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 la. I'm not trying to bug you out or anything like that, but what I'm just saying is, take responsibility for your own living and your own sustainment, and do not be dependent on anyone or anything else that you need to survive. You should be able to provide yourself with all the things you need to survive. If you can't do that, then your life is literally in someone else's hands. So let us continue. Carpentry, electrician, soldier, people with military experience, people with combat experience, because security is necessary. You know, security is necessary. Everybody out there is not a good person. Some people do not want to work for what they have; they just want to come take yours. So you need to be able to protect yourself and protect the people you love. Engineer, if you can. You know, those engineers are good with as far as organizing and building things and you know, blueprints and schematics and making sure things are laid out properly. You know, you really want your engineer and your carpenter probably working together to make sure that the structures that you're building are going to last, you know, not just for the week, but, you know, through the winter, you know, through a year, through 2 years, through 3 years. They built those pyramids thousands and thousands of years ago, and they're still standing. You know, you want whatever you build to be sound structurally, and that's where the engineer can come into play, especially when you're building in environments that you're not really familiar with. A nurse or someone with medical experience, obviously, if somebody gets hurt, they can, you know, apply first aid or help them in some form or fashion. Um, I wrote down here a naturopath, but what I really just mean is somebody who uses nature to heal. So you're talking about your herbologists, people that you know how to use plants and herbs and medicines from the earth to heal the body. Um, and then you're also going to want your person, your agriculture, your permaculture, um, because it's not just enough to, you know, be able to garden and set a couple things up. You know, you're thinking about sustaining. You know, you need like an ecosystem really. You know, to be set up and to really make it happen for you. Um, and people who are familiar with agriculture, people who are familiar with permaculture, they that's their specialty. So they can set you up with a food supply that can really helps your food supply. Um, Step your food supply game up. And then I put down here biochemist because that's chemistry is just is an extremely important field when you're talking about manipulation of the elements and putting different elements together to create certain effects. It almost has an infinite amount of uses, from medical to you know, structural to, you know, devices to, you know, anything, anything. You can do everything from heal the body to build bombs. Dealing with even I'm not even though you don't really want to be building bombs. What I'm just saying is that uh, you know, chemists, the dealing of chemistry and alchemy and manipulation of elements can lead to a lot of different outcomes. So you want these kind of people in your team. So these are the kind of people that you want to really, really, really be building with, and the people that you want to be in your network, and y'all want to, you know, talk about a few things. You know, say, you know, get organized. And not only that, but everybody should be having a small business of some form of fashion. And then eventually you want to get into a place where you're providing everyone in the community's basic necessities are provided for by the community itself. That's the ultimate goal, self-sustainment. So that way you don't have to depend on anything or anybody else, and you are immune to economic recessions or depressions or drops in currency, or if you know, if the grocery stores decide to stop selling food, or if, you know, all of a sudden, you know, you need to get some land and get a place to live. Like these are the kind of things that are going to come in handy. Um, so I skated over a lot of different things. I just want to do a real quick, brief recap. Again, I go into more detail about all these different elements in the different community economics videos, but I just want to create an intro video that kind of encompassed everything in one, just to really get some stuff across and to go deeper into certain aspects of it. Next video is going to be 6 principles of success. Like I said, we back at it, man. Liberation is here, so it's time to go. So we kicking this thing up full notch, man. Also, stay out of debt. Stay out of debt, because that's how they trap you up. You know, once they got you in debt, within this current economic paradigm, man, debt is slavery. So try to stay away from that if possible. All right, I'm gonna holler. I'll be back.